Well, I was born in Honolulu, Hawaii, at Triple Army Navy Hospital in 1959, right before Hawaii became a state. I grew up on a little island inside of Pearl Harbor called Fort Island. I lived in naval housing. My dad was a naval officer, and we stayed there. We moved a couple of homes there, but stayed there until I was 13 years old, and then my dad was transferred to Mayport Naval Station in Jacksonville, and we moved to Jacksonville, Florida, and I went to high school, junior high and high school in Jacksonville. And when I got there, I noticed a difference uh, in people. I always grew up; everybody was welcome at the dinner table. Didn't matter color, religion, none of that mattered. When I got into the South, I was my first time I ever experienced prejudice.
Black history has been closely intertwined with Jacksonville and North Florida's history for centuries. The city is home to Edward Waters University, a historically black institution founded in 1866, and has one of the largest concentrations of Gullah Geechee descendants in the country. Last year it dedicated a public marker honoring a community built by formerly enslaved Gullah Geechee people in the 1870s. Predominantly black areas on Jacksonville's north side grapple with decades of neglect and disinvestment. Cracked sidewalks or streets without any sidewalks and aging septic systems that regularly overflow into yards. No grocery stores. Redlining has deepened the economic woes, and on Thursday, U.S. Attorney General Merrick Garland traveled to Jacksonville to announce a $9 million settlement with a local bank accused of discriminating against residents in the city's Black and Hispanic communities, as recently as 2021, by denying or discouraging credit and home loan applications. The Justice Department complaint alleged that Ameris Bank located its branches to cater to majority white neighborhoods and to avoid serving Black and Hispanic neighborhoods. If approved by the court, Garland said the settlement would go toward expanding access to credit opportunities for the latter.
That's not how I was raised or what I was raised around or with. Now, the neighborhood I lived in Jacksonville was mixed, very mixed, because most of the people that lived around us were in military, and my dad bought the house because that was going to be where my mother wanted to stay. So we bought that house, and then I went to junior high, and I went to a junior high, Jefferson Davis Junior High, the president of the Confederacy. My high school, which has now changed names, was Nathan Bedford Forrest Junior High School, Confederate general, and the creator of the Ku Klux Klan, first Grand Wizard or whatever they call him. And I didn't understand it. I noticed two different types. Number one, there was a color discrimination, and they started busing while I was there, which intermingled, brought students from other areas of the city to other areas. The heavily dense African American or Black population was moved into the more white neighborhoods, and people from the white neighborhood schools were bussed out to the diversity neighborhoods. And then I also noticed prejudice from male to female. I was always taught females were to be treated different, with respect and all that. And I saw people treating females, as a second rate citizen, just as they were treating Blacks or Asians as second rate citizens. And that was shocking to me.
Kimberly Crenshaw, an American law professor who coined the term in 1989, explained intersectional feminism as a prism for seeing the way in which various forms of inequality often operate together and exacerbate each other, in a recent interview with Time. All inequality is not created equal, she says. An intersectional approach shows the way that people's social identities can overlap, creating compounding experiences of discrimination. We tend to talk about race inequality as separate from inequality based on gender, class, sexuality, or immigrant status. What's often missing is how some people are subject to all of these, and the experience is not just the sum of its parts, Crenshaw said. Intersectional feminism centers the voices of those experiencing overlapping, concurrent forms of oppression in order to understand the depths of the inequalities and the relationships among them in any given context.
Mm-hmm. My parents were first generation born in this country. My dad is Italian Sicilian, and my mother is Russian. So, I don't understand people being down on people or treating people differently. We're all created the same. There in the service, I saw prejudice.
What did you see?
I saw that you were divided. If you had two white officers, they were in a room. If you had black officers, they had their quarters. They didn't segregate you. They segregated you. Mm-hmm. I was one of the first that shared a stateroom with an African American. I didn't have no problem. We both worked in the same place. We ate the same chow hall. We had a job to do. Mm-hmm. Then I did my time in the service, and I got out, stayed in the reserves for several years. But when I got out, I started college, but I also started on the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office.
Okay.
And I was a young deputy, and I moved into my patrol area. And the patrol area I had was how can I put this politically correct? It was a lower area. It was all low blue collar workers, very diversified. You had all races, and I got criticized by some of my white friends. Why did you move there? You can live, over in the Arlington area, or you can live here and there. I said, no, I'm going to be in the area that I'm going to patrol. Mm-hmm. And that's when I wound up over in, they called it Zone 4, but it was north side of Jacksonville. And it wasn't a 50-50. I was the minority. And my children didn't have no problem growing up, that way. And I wanted them to be the same way I was. I wanted them to be open and free to everybody. Mm-hmm. And I believe it worked. I left Jacksonville in 1989. And I come to Maine. I left the sheriff's office knowing I'd get my retirement at 62.
Was that a pivotal point in showing you how the world worked, or were you already?
No, and I had a great teacher. My father was my best teacher. He always taught me it didn't matter, black, white, woman, man, Jew, Hindu, Arabic, whatever. It don't matter. It's the person that you have to think about. Mm-hmm. And when I was growing up, and I know there was a lot of stuff after 9/11 where people didn't like people from the Middle East, didn't like any Arabs. A man named Eddie Rucap, who is from Egypt, is an Arab, gave me my first real job when I was 16 years old. They owned a grocery chain called Big Ten Foods. It was owned by, most of the people that owned it were Arabic. and A&P had closed some stores, and they reopened them. And I worked for them. I worked for them until I went in the military. But they treated me, Eddie Rucab treated me like I was his own son. So I didn't see what all this stuff is about, you know. Just because they're from the Middle East or they're from Africa, why are they different? They're not.
Hmm.
You know, it's just like somebody from the United States going to the Middle East or Africa. What's the difference? You're just from a different country. That's all.
Yep.
But I noticed prejudice there. You know, 16 years old, some people wouldn't shop in the store because it was owned by Arabs.
Hmm.
Why? And a lot of that comes from my father saying, you have to help your fellow man.
Sounds like your father is a pivotal influence on you.
Oh, he was a great influence on me. Uh, I watched him, you know, help a man up out of the gutter. You know, he wouldn't give him cash. Man needed a cigarette, he'd buy him a pack of cigarettes. Needed something to eat, buy him something to eat. Or take him somewhere so he could get the help.
Hmm.
And he taught me that from when I was very young. So yeah, everybody's got their sports heroes and this and that. My hero is my father.
That's a great story. I love that. You know that you're called the Godfather of Biddeford?
Yes.
Tell me about that.
I have a habit of helping people when they're down on their luck. And I have helped them out of some situations where they might have gone to jail. You know, just being a liaison there, talking to them while they're with the police and talking it down to where nobody went to jail and the individual was trying to get help then. So that helped. And a lot of people come to me. I ran a company for a short period of time, a labor ready company, and that was the name of it, labor ready. A lot of them worked for me, and I would get them onto jobs that they thought they would never do. I got some people into office jobs. All they needed to do was fine tune some things, get a little better appearance to go, learn how to talk when you go into an interview. And I sat down many times with them. And when I had the labor ready office, we had Thanksgiving dinner at my office. You know, the company and me would put it on, pay for it, invite your
Hmm.
family in. And these are people that needed a helping hand, needed a place. You know, they all had apartments. Maybe they didn't. I don't know. But they could come in with their family and understood somebody cared about what happened to them. And my wife would come down and help me make sandwiches because when the guys went out to work in the morning, you know, they were paid every day when they got home. They may not have a lunch. So you make tuna fish or peanut butter and jelly or egg salad sandwiches and make sure they got a bag lunch to go.
Nice.
Have a bottle of water and a bag of chips. There.
Yeah.
You know, so and it made me feel good just to do that. But it made them feel good to have somebody, you know, appreciate what they're doing. And yes, I wish society would understand everybody's different. Everybody's different. Everybody has their own problems.